Welcome back to Rap Recap. Today we'll recap the action thriller called The Equalizer 3. In a thrilling tale of vengeance and courage, a former secret agent sets out to dismantle a drug trafficker's empire, only to find himself entangled in the plight of newfound friends threatened by local crime syndicates. As tensions escalate, he leaps to shield them from the perilous grip of the mafia. Brace yourself for an electrifying odyssey of retribution and valor. Will he emerge as their ultimate guardian? Join us as this gripping narrative unravels, teeming with suspense and intrigue. The film opens in Sicily, Italy, amidst a serene landscape of vineyards. A mafia don, Lorenzo, accompanied by his grandson, ventures towards their sprawling vineyard. As they draw near, a grim sight awaits them. His loyal men lie strewn, victims of brutal violence. A lone henchman stands sentinel at the entrance. Lorenzo, his features carved in determination, retrieves a firearm from the dashboard, cautioning his grandson to remain in the safety of the car. Intrigued and appalled by the bloodshed that has befallen his domain, Lorenzo navigates the macabre scene, discovering more of his men's lifeless forms. Bewildered, he questions who could dare orchestrate such a massacre. Descending into the depths of the cellar, his henchmen confront Robert, a composed figure meticulously cleaning a ring. As Lorenzo draws near, demanding explanations, Robert calmly asserts that Lorenzo possesses something he shouldn't. Intrigued by the audacity of a single individual wiping out his guards, Lorenzo probes further, seeking Robert's intentions. Unfazed, Robert issues a terse ultimatum, granting Lorenzo a scant 9 seconds to make a decision. As the fleeting moments elapse, Robert swiftly neutralizes the gunman, executing Lorenzo in a decisive and swift manner. Exiting the winery, Robert spots Lorenzo's grandson and swiftly ushers the boy to safety inside the car. However, as Robert prepares to depart, the unexpected occurs. Lorenzo's grandson, fueled by vengeance, fires at Robert's back before darting away. Contemplating retaliation, Robert, grappling with his injury, pauses, ultimately unable to harm the child. Distraught and wrestling with his pain, Robert discovers his gun empty, thwarting his desperate thoughts of self-inflicted demise. Seeking escape, he boards a ferry bound for the mainland. Along the picturesque Amalfi coast, pain overwhelms him, and he succumbs to unconsciousness. Providentially, a local police officer named Gio Benucci discovers and rescues him. Transported to the quaint town of Altamonte along the Italian coast, Robert receives critical medical aid from the town's modest physician, Enzo Aricio. As Robert rouses the following day, Enzo poses a probing query about his moral compass. Admitting uncertainty, Robert, attempting to move, is restrained by Enzo, who insists on the vital necessity of allowing his wounds time to heal. The following morning, Robert awakens, and Enzo checks in on his rest, inquiring about his name. With a subtle shift, Robert introduces himself as Roberto. Puzzled by his surroundings, Robert questions his whereabouts, prompting Enzo to cryptically assure him that he is where he ought to be. Emerging the next day, aided by a cane, Robert steps outside, only to find Enzo already present, extending a friendly greeting. Curious about the passage of time, Robert queries Enzo, who calmly informs him that 3 days have slipped by. Standing at a vantage point, they survey the vista of Altamonte as Enzo elaborates on the town, describing it as a modest and unassuming place. In the subsequent scene, Robert descends the stairs, traversing the winding streets of the city. Curious gazes track his every step as he saunters through the vibrant thoroughfares. Settling at a quaint cafe, he requests tea, meticulously laying out tissues on the table. Despite his request, a waitress serves him the town's touted coffee, asserting its unrivaled quality. Amidst this unexpected twist, a familiar face arrives, the policeman, Gio, accompanied by his daughter. Gio, the one who came to Robert's aid during his moment of distress, joins him at the table, initiating a conversation. Gio speaks warmly of Dr. Enzo's integrity and highlights the town's inclination toward peace. Extending a gesture of goodwill, Gio hands Robert his car keys, mentioning that his vehicle is parked behind the police station, reassuring him that it's available whenever he feels up to it. In the subsequent scene, Robert, shrouded in anonymity, places a clandestine call to CIA officer Emma Collins, divulging crucial intel regarding the winery's complicity in a clandestine drug trade camouflaged as legitimate transactions in Sicily. Despite Agent Collins's persistent attempts to glean information about his identity, Robert steadfastly guards his secrets. He proceeds to unravel details about a vineyard in Sicily, clandestinely importing crates from Syria, shedding light on an intricate repackaging operation. Collins, realizing the gravity of the situation, promptly alerts higher authorities, emphasizing the necessity for a specialized operation. Amidst his covert actions, Robert forges bonds with the townsfolk, growing fond of the place and its inhabitants. However, during a visit to the cafe, he keenly observes a local mafia member's entrance. He discerns that the establishment's owner pays protection money to ensure the safety of his business, a stark testament to the pervasive influence of the mafia in the town. The narrative unfolds as Robert, traversing a bustling street, chances upon a distressing altercation. Marco, the brother of Vincent, the Camorra mafia leader, ruthlessly assaults Angelo, the proprietor of a local fish market, demanding exorbitant protection fees. Angelo, burdened with expenses to repair a vital freezer for his business, is unable to comply. Helplessly, Robert witnesses the brutal attack, vigilantly monitoring Marco and his menacing cohorts, sensing the impending threat lingering over the vulnerable locals. In the subsequent scene, Marco and his compatriots speed away on bikes, returning to Naples. Vincent, the mafia kingpin, orchestrates coercive negotiations within a building, pressuring locals to relinquish their apartments at meager compensation, clearing the way for his restaurant enterprise. A harrowing climax transpires as Vincent confronts his brother. A heart-wrenching tragedy unfolds. A frail, elderly man is callously thrown out of a window with a rope tethered to his neck, a ghastly consequence of his family's refusal to surrender their property. Amidst the chaos, horrified onlookers scream and weep. Marco callously instructs people to vacate the premises, showcasing the ruthless power dynamics within the mafia's grip. As Agent Collins and her CIA cohorts infiltrate the winery, their investigation uncovers a startling cache. Millions in cash and bags of illicit phenethylline tablets discreetly stowed away within wine bottles, validating Robert's earlier suspicions. Simultaneously, the Camorra mafia, aiming to send a menacing message, sets ablaze Angelo's cherished fish store, a cruel spectacle witnessed by the entire town. Robert arrives at the distressing scene, profoundly affected by the mafia's ruthless display of power and the anguish inflicted upon the townsfolk. Touched by the plight of the community, Robert resolves to extend his stay in Altamonte. He meticulously strategizes, observing Marco and his cohorts, discerning their actions from a discreet distance as they surveil the aftermath of their destructive act, preparing himself for the impending clash against the formidable mafia forces. As night descends, Gio meticulously reviews the footage of the fiery onslaught, swiftly reaching out to the Italian Central Police to set the wheels of an investigation against the mafia in motion. Amidst this tumultuous atmosphere, Robert finds solace in a simple pleasure, a quiet moment, savoring a cup of tea. Amina, the waitress, extends an invitation, coaxing him to join her for an evening out, an offer he gladly accepts. They embark on a delightful escapade, relishing each other's company. The vibrant spirit of Altamonte unfolds as locals gather to enjoy a movie projected outdoors, enveloped in a palpable ambiance of camaraderie and hospitality. Amidst this warmth, Amina confides in Robert, revealing that the townsfolk now regard him as one of their own, a testament to the genuine connection he's forged within the community. At the cafe, Robert savors his tea, unaware as Agent Emma Collins discreetly captures photos of him. Catching her in the act, Robert invites her to take a picture from the front. However, when pressed about his background and vineyard activities, Robert skillfully sidesteps direct answers. Acknowledging his retired officer status, he steadfastly refuses to divulge the organization he served. Despite inquiries about the vineyard deaths, Robert denies any capability for violence, expressing a desire to assist Agent Collins further, but lacking additional intel. His surprise surfaces when Agent Collins reveals she already knows his name. The mafia kidnaps Gio's daughter, warning him against interference. They beat him in front of his family. Enzo treats him afterward, and Robert learns about the mafia's pervasive reach from Enzo. At the restaurant, Gio enjoys a meal with his family as mafia member Marco and his crew make an unwelcome appearance. Marco demands Gio arrange boats for their operations. Meanwhile, Robert, discreetly observing, remains vigilant. Bothered by Robert's watchful gaze, Marco warns him to stay out of their business. Unfazed, Robert urges them to relocate their activities out of his newfound affection for the town and its inhabitants. Ignoring Robert's plea, Marco chuckles dismissively, triggering a sudden move from Robert. In a swift and calculated action, Robert seizes Marco's median nerve, inflicting searing pain. Amidst Marco's anguished screams, Robert demands he place his firearm on the table and vacate the premises. Under the cover of night, Marco plots retaliation against Robert, but falls prey to Robert's swift and precise retribution. As the police investigate the aftermath, news of Syrian terrorist bombings shocks Agent Collins. She confronts a detained suspect, warning of repercussions if vital information isn't shared. Following the prisoner's revelations, a swift and coordinated effort by law enforcement ensues, resulting in multiple casualties and the apprehension of numerous mafia associates. In a subsequent scene, amidst his brother's funeral, Vincent, the mafia head, encounters the police chief. The chief hints at CIA involvement and alerts Vincent that Agent Collins is uncovering the truth, that it was Vincent, not the terrorists, responsible for the attacks. Tensions escalate as the truth edges closer to exposure. Tensions escalate in a heated confrontation between Vincent and the police chief, leading to Vincent's brutal torture of the chief in an attempt to uncover the truth behind Marco's demise. The situation intensifies as Vincent ruthlessly severs the chief's hand in response to perceived disrespect. Meanwhile, Robert contacts Agent Collins, alerting her to the true culprit, the Camorra Mafia, entangled in the unfolding chaos. But before Collins can act on this revelation, a bomb planted in her car detonates, leaving her injured. Despite her wounds, she manages to convey the truth to her superior, implicating the Camorra in the attacks. Later, under the looming threat to Gio and his family, Robert steps forward, revealing his identity. Despite his plea to spare the town from witnessing bloodshed, Vincent refuses, preparing to harm Robert. In a dramatic turn, Dr. Enzo intervenes, brandishing a weapon. The townsfolk, capturing the tense standoff on their cameras, compel Vincent and the Camorra to retreat, promising retribution the next day. The night shrouds Vincent's residence in secrecy as Robert stealthily infiltrates, swiftly neutralizing his guards. Vincent, startled by blood trickling from above, frantically calls for his men, met with eerie silence. Determined to confront the intruder, Vincent ventures through the house, only to be struck unconscious by a forceful blow from Robert's weapon. Subduing him further, Robert employs ropes to render Vincent immobile, incapacitating him. With grim determination, Robert forces Vincent to ingest a fatal dose of his own narcotics. Exiting the premises calmly, Robert maintains his composure as Vincent succumbs to the potent drugs in full view of the townspeople. In the hospital, Robert visits Emma, inquiring about his earlier actions at the vineyard. Slowly unraveling the truth, he reveals that a cybercriminal decimated the pension fund of an elderly couple. Determined to rectify this injustice, he traced the source to a Sicilian vineyard, sparking the sequence of events. With a resolute purpose, Robert instructs Agent Collins to ensure the money retrieved from the winery finds its way back to the rightful owners, the pension fund of the elderly couple, aiming to restore what was wrongfully taken. In the closing scene at Langley, Virginia, Agent Collins receives a well-deserved promotion for her pivotal role in dismantling the Altamonte drug trade. Amidst the celebration, she uncovers a note from Robert, offering congratulations and a heartfelt mention of her late mother, Susan Plummer, a close friend and colleague of his. This revelation unveils the deep connection between Collins and Robert through Susan Plummer. With tranquility restored to Altamonte, the movie concludes with a poignant moment. Robert joining the locals in jubilant celebration as their team triumphs in a football tournament, signifying the return of peace to the community. That's a wrap on The Equalizer 3. If you enjoyed this action-packed recap, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more thrilling movie recaps. Stay tuned for more adrenaline-pumping adventures.